So, good morning. This is going to be an off the cuff response to a video that was just put out less than an hour ago from Fitz News. And it's called Audio from Susie Skinner's interview with the Myrtle Beach police. And it was regarding Chris Skinner's passing September 6, 2021. This interview took place February of 2025. Now, take a Valium, have a drink of wine before listening to it. It is available on YouTube because the whiny, scratchy, over entitled, victim mentality will get under your skin pretty quickly. But here's my response, as I said, off the cuff, to Miss Susie Q, okay, who thinks she's above it all. Number one, you're not the only one with a master's degree, sweetheart, okay? She has this attitude where the people who've been talking about Chris Skinner are YouTubers. Screw you, okay? The YouTubers who've been talking about your husband's death are people who happen to be educated people, okay? People who have backgrounds in business, in medicine. For example, okay, I happen to have health administration degree and more certifications in medicine than you do, physical therapist, okay? So as a physical therapist, as someone who has a low in the totem pole medical certification as you do, you should have known better than to skip over his medication the night before. But we all know why, okay? Since you're so over entitled, so superior, you should have been taking care of your husband. But because you had your head so far up John Paul's rear end, you didn't. You didn't care, okay? You're not a victim, Susie. You're a predator. You're possibly a murderer. So stop making it out to be as if the Skinner family has some nerve, or any of us have some nerve looking into the deaths of two innocent people at the hands of two selfish, self-absorbed people like you and John Paul. That's just too damn bad, isn't it? You just want to walk around with your stupid diamond and act as if you're all so special. Susie, you're nothing but number what, 135 in his life? You're nobody special. And I'm sure he's screwing other women as he's got that ring on your hand. You think you're the only woman he's talking to? Are you really that dumb? You've never been special, hon. You're not even his type. Take a look at every woman he's been with. They've always had dark hair. You don't look anything like them. Micah was 10,000 times more attractive than you, and younger, may I add. Why would he want you? Why? Even Allison, who had what, 4 kids, was better looking than you. But he chose to be with you, and we don't know why. But you You selfishly stopped taking care of your husband. Nobody forced you. You made that choice. So don't you dare talk down about the people that report on this. Some people do this for a living. Who are you to mock people who do this for a living? You're not above it all, physical therapist. You're not a doctor. You're not even a nurse. LPNs are above you, girl. I don't care if you have a master's degree. A master's degree in what? Telling people to stretch? Showing people how to massage? I've got a master's degree in massage. Big deal. You're an overeducated massage therapist. Whoopity-doo-dah. And you go in there talking like you're, what, Dr. Ben Carson? Who the hell are you? And how dare the Skinner family open up this wound? I don't think you remember the fact that this is a sister and a mother who were looking into the son and the brother that just happened to pass away on the very day they were supposed to meet with him on a day of a cookout. You're right, he was a motivational speaker. What he did had very little to do with the personality that he withheld all those years. It just didn't match who he was. And just because you said he was sad, everybody's supposed to believe you? You know why you were crying, hun? You know why you're all upset at that table? You're not upset because people are bringing up this old wound. You're upset because you might have to pay back that life insurance policy money. Or you're upset because you might get caught at the negligence that you showed to that poor man before he died. That's what you're upset about. You're upset that you might get caught at your selfish, disgusting behavior. That's what you're upset about. You couldn't care less about your kids, because if you cared about your kids, you would have cared about your kids before your husband passed away. You would have kept out of the pastor's pants, and you would have cared about your husband. But you didn't care about anybody but Suzie. You didn't care about Micah. You didn't care about Chris. You didn't care about your kids. You didn't care about the congregation. You didn't care about anybody but you. And you still are that way. God only knows what kind of person you were like to the Skinner family. You were probably always a self-absorbed, whiny brat. And now we're finally seeing you for who you really are. No, we're not a bunch of YouTubers, sweetheart. I'm sure that's what you'd like to bring us down to, your level. But that'll never happen. Ever. Oh, so there you go. There you go. Susie can go screw herself weekend. That's the weekend that we're going to start off with. Susie, go screw yourself. The Skinners have every right to question you. We've seen the video. Something went wrong in that video. You proved to us that he fell asleep in that chair. And if you were so worried about him falling asleep in that chair, according to that video, why didn't you stop him from going to the pool? You know why? Because you wanted him to do it. You wanted him out of the way so you could run off with your boyfriend. I bet you were totally behind him getting rid of Micah, right? Did you help him out with that too? What are you standing in his house right now, jumping up and down, screeching and scrawling right now and screaming like a crazy person because I'm calling you out? Good. I'm glad. I hope I ruined your weekend. I hope I ruined your weekend just like you ruined the lives of Micah and Chris. Just like you ruined the lives of the Francis family and the Skinner family. I hope I ruined your weekend. I hope you lose sleep. I hope you can't eat. I hope that ring falls off your finger and you lose it. I hope what the very way that you treated these people is bestowed on you. I hope the very mercy and grace that you showed on Mike and Chris, God starts to show on you. In every way. In every way. And what I mean by that is the lack thereof. You didn't want to feed him? I hope God stops feeding you. You don't want to care for him? I hope God stops caring for you. You see, it says it in the word if you'd pick up the Bible, but you're such an idiot, you didn't pick up the Bible. It says that God will give you up to your very sins. You know what that means? That means that you don't get to enjoy the pleasures of them. That means the very demons that run those sins, God gives you up to those demons, and you no longer have protection from those demons. That means the demons can have havoc on you, and you're no longer protected by God. That means if those demons want to torment you or kill you, they can. And I believe they will. And maybe they should. Because after listening to your screechy, whiny voice, that you are more concerned about protecting yourself, maybe you should. You and John Paul, you both deserve it. Anybody that's more concerned about themselves and saving their own skin than protecting two vulnerable people. Obviously, Chris was very vulnerable. You didn't care about him. And Micah allegedly was so vulnerable because she was so mentally ill, according to John Paul. And neither one of you thought to protect either one of them. You were more concerned about getting them out of the way. And why was that? Maybe it was so that you could both ride off in the sunset with Chris's money. Who knows? The feds know. The feds know. They're watching everything you do. As a matter of fact, they know that you bought that diamond ring. Every ounce of money that you move, everything that you do, everything that you buy, everywhere you go, they're watching you. And they're making a note of it. You may think that they aren't, but they are. And they're building a case on you. Oh my God. Susie, you better get yourself a federal attorney. You better get yourself one. I'd sell that diamond ring if I were you. Yep, she better start taking those benzos. She may have to start getting used to maybe having a girlfriend. She's going to have herself a girlfriend in prison. Yeah, let's see if that master's degree in physical therapy will help her out in prison. I've got a master's degree. Who cares? In what? Stretching ligaments? Whoopity doo-dah day. Can you save a life with that? What happens if somebody stops breathing? What do you do, Susie? Quick. What do you do? What do you do? What do you do? If somebody's bleeding, what do you do, Susie? If they have a heart attack, what do you do? What do you do? Make them stretch. Yeah, okay. Bite me. How's that, Susie? Idiot. I don't understand why they're asking these questions. These YouTubers are asking these questions. They're asking these questions because your boyfriend's wife, who just served him 2 days before her death, where she was found face down in water with a gunshot wound to the head, with bullets that didn't even belong to her, were not purchased by her. Days before he was served with divorce papers and a protection order. No, that's not suspicious at all. And before then, all he did was track her and harass her. Nope, not suspicious. Not one bit. Not at all. My God. Did you get this mad at Newsweek and New York Post and People Magazine when they reported on all these stories? You do realize that there were larger news outlets that have talked about Chris, right? You didn't mention them. You just mentioned the YouTubers. You know why? Because they're an easy target for you. You're pathetic. You're a pathetic, mediocre-looking blonde who really has nothing going for you. And you never cared about anybody else but yourself, and you've been caught red-handed. You and your mediocre boyfriend. Okay, guys, in the chat, what do you got to say? Did any of you see this? It just came out an hour ago, so you probably haven't. As I said, have a glass of wine before you listen. Or maybe take a Valium or a Xanax because or maybe some kind of migraine pill because she's worse than John Paul McGrath. You know, just this whiny, immediately goes into this defense mode for no reason because it's about 28 minutes long. I can play it, actually. I absolutely can play it. I'm not going to put my earphones on because it gives me a headache, but I will get it for you. Hold on. Let's see here. All right. She makes me absolutely laugh. With girls like this, these are the type of girls that I couldn't speak around for 5 minutes in high school. Oh my God, with the so pathetic. Okay, I'm going to put it up. I'm going to let you guys listen to it. I'm going to go into mute. And I'm absolutely not going to listen to it because I've already listened to it once. And I'm going to go take something for migraine because that's why I sound like I want to punch her in the face. And you'll see why after listening to it. Just Robin probably understands. So here you go. I mean, really, she thinks she's above it all. And she ain't above nothing, except maybe John Paul late at night. Whatever, who cares?
Just to record a whole conversation. That way I can refer back to it if I need to. I have a terrible memory. Do you happen to have ID handy? Okay. Thank you for meeting us. I know you had probably a long day already. Yes, sir.
And you're the coroner?
I am.
This is my partner's that. Is this address still good for you? Okay, perfect. I'll get that back to you. Okay, so one of the formalities is I'm going to read you Miranda. I don't want you to think you're in any kind of trouble. That's not the case. My goal here today is to have a discussion about what happened a couple years ago, and then hopefully get you out of here before too long. So I don't plan on keeping you very long, but I at least want to take care of this form here, okay?
So there's no reason why would my Miranda rights be read?
So that way you understand your rights, know that you're speaking to us freely. Again, you don't have to talk
Am I
to us.
not supposed to speak to you freely?
No,
Like,
it's
what?
totally up to you. It's totally up to you whether you talk to us or not. Like I said, you're not in any kind of trouble.
Okay.
And if I ask you something that you don't want to answer at any point, you could just say, I'm done here. That's fine. I have no problems with that. And that's all going to be advised in here. Okay. So I'll read this. If you have any questions, let me know. We'll have a discussion and hopefully get you out the door here soon. Okay. Are you currently under the influence of any alcohol or drugs?
No.
Is English your primary language?
Yes.
What's your highest level of education?
Master's degree.
And do you know enough to ask me a question if you don't understand something?
Yes.
But you've already done that, right? So,
Mhm.
okay. So you have the right to remain silent and refuse to answer any questions. Anything you say can be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to talk to an attorney and have him present while you are being questioned. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be provided at government expense before any questioning if you wish. If you desire to make a statement or answer questions, you have the right to stop at any time. That's kind of what we were just talking about there. Do you understand each of those?
Mhm.
Okay. Initial each one of those little lines, if you don't mind. Sign there, and then I'll sign the bottom portion. Okay, thank you. Okay, so I know I had kind of spoke to you briefly on the phone about it. I know this is all seems pretty like old news at this point. This is several years ago that this happened, right? So ultimately what happened, family contacted the coroner's office. They're not very happy with the outcome of the investigation, which is kind of what I was telling you on the phone. They are under the impression intentionally, not accidentally. Okay. So the coroner's office reached out to us and said, is there any way we can get some clarification on some of this investigation? We would like to speak to several people. Great, no problem. So that's where I come in. Myrtle Beach Police said, okay, great. We'll do some more interviews. And we'll see if there's any additional evidence that might be able to help them as the coroner's office determine the cause of death.
Mhm.
Okay. None of this is to try and get you jammed up. It's just for clarification purposes. Okay. Anything you want to add to that? Okay. So maybe 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I'm losing track of time. We went down a list of people that have reached out to his mental health, his physical health, his personality, their relationships, the whole 9 yards. We did a whole bunch of interviews, probably with a lot of people that you know or have talked to at some point. In doing all of that, there was a lot of, I will say a lot, it was all pretty much the same direction. It wasn't so much speculation. It was, we know he did. Going through the initial investigation, when you were interviewed by Detective Saud years ago, right? That was never alluded to. It was more, there's no way he would have done something to himself. This was certainly an accident. Surely there was an issue with his chair, that kind of thing. So our reason for talking today is to clarify your original statement. Is there anything that you would say differently now in 2025?
No, and can I explain something to you?
Of course.
Let me break this down for you. He's a C5-6 quad. Do you know what that means? Tell me what muscles he can use.
Very few.
No, I mean specifically, biceps he can bend. On his left hand, he functioned as a C6. On his right side, he functioned as a C5. On the left side, C6, he's got wrist extension that's a 5 out of 5 strength. I am a physical therapist specializing in spinal cord injury.
Mhm.
So I've got some expert advice here, or
Sure.
expertise,
Sure.
whatever. He can bend his biceps. He has 0 triceps, cannot control his triceps at all. His arm goes up like this. He can't move it. If his arm comes down like this, he can resist it with biceps, but he has no triceps whatsoever. He has absolutely 0 sensation in his hand, none whatsoever. This is C6, this is C7, this is C8. C7, C8 have 0 function, 0 sensation. C6 was spotty because it was a injury that was C5 on the right, C6 on the left. It wasn't good sensation. He could not feel his hand at all. Okay. When he drives his wheelchair, the only thing he's using is wrist extension and his biceps. And then he's got some deltoid in the front. So he can extend his arm. He can move it forward. He can bend his elbow and he can use his wrist extension. That's all he's got. No sensation.
Okay.
This is the pink salt recipe that took me from 198 to 147 in just weeks. And the best part?
So that morning, the night before, he had forgotten to take his medications at night, and I had forgotten to give it to him. So he stayed up all night. He was awake all night long. So when he got up in the morning, I gave him his normal medications that he always has in the morning. And then he went for a walk to walk the dog, which is what he does every single morning. Probably at least one day a week on that walk, he usually starts to kind of fall asleep, or he just is tired and he'll, ride like this and drive. And he used to joke around and say like, don't ever let me drive off the sidewalk, or don't let me, whatever. And we would have to like wake him up and stuff. So that morning when I get to the pool and they're doing CPR, whatever, the detective said, what happened? Okay, well, he was tired. He was up all night long. He finally gets the medications, which is the same medications at night as in the morning. So he finally gets those medications that he had missed, and he probably fell asleep. He went to the same spot in the pool every single day if there was a person that could let him into the pool area. If not, he went on the outside of the gate, and he would sit there and he would play on his phone or he would rest. That's what he did every morning after he walked the dog. That morning, obviously, a neighbor let him into the pool. And so, yes, I think he fell asleep or whatever. I don't know. I haven't seen the video. And that morning when that detective's asking me those questions or whatever, I haven't seen the video. I have no idea. So, yes, that's my best guess on that day at that moment that's what happened to my husband. I'm the one that lives with him. I'm the one that takes care of him. I'm the one that was there the night before. I'm the one that got him up that morning. I'm the one that gives him the medication, not these other people. I'm the one that lives with him. Yes, I know he's sad. He's freaking paralyzed for 21 years. Would you not be sad? But does that guarantee 100% that he killed himself? I have no idea. I am not a detective, and I was not in his mind that morning. That is what I told that detective, and that is exactly what I stand by today. Okay. I have no idea.
Yeah, sure.
You decide.
Sure. What do you think? This is just hypotheses here. Why do you think this would come to light in 2025, several years later? Like, what do you think has changed?
Nothing has changed.
So why are they bringing it to our attention now?
Because there's a bunch of YouTubers that are talking about other topics that have killed himself. My sister-in-law was mad at me because she came to me like the next day or whatever, and I said, well, I don't know. Obviously, I don't know if he did or not. And I said, but I really don't want you talking to the kids about that. They're 14 years old. Their dad was a motivational speaker. He did everything in his power to be the strongest man on earth for his kids. And he laid his life down for his kids every single day. So please don't mention that to my children. Mm-hmm. If that's your thought, that's your thought. That's fine. Mm-hmm. Don't talk to me about it, and don't talk to my kids about it. And it apparently frustrated her mm-hmm. to the point that now she's like, you know what? I'm gonna bring it up. I'm gonna whatever. I didn't even know that she's the one who started this. I have no idea why we're talking about this.
Okay. Have you talked to her recently?
A couple weeks ago, a month ago, whatever, and then I had to block her because she decided to tell my daughter himself, which devastated my daughter.
Mhm.
And I said, please don't talk to my daughter about that anymore.
Mhm.
And she like reamed me out text messages, blah, 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 how all these things. And so I blocked her. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
done. All
You-
because she
two
wants,
kids?
yes,
Yeah.
twins that adored their father.
Sure. Yeah, of course. Okay. Alluded to doing anything like that to you?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, how recently, from the time he passed away, was it recent that he was making comments like that?
He made, I mean, not specific to me, not within that week or whatever,
Yeah.
but he would make comments periodically. Yeah. He'd
Yeah.
say that, I mean, he would talk about how hard his life was. He would talk about how it's so difficult. He doesn't know how long he can do it. But he was saying that in 2015 and he was saying that in 2017. I mean, this is not new.
Yeah, of course.
It was a hard life. And he started getting wounds that were like recurrent wounds, probably started 2017, 2018, somewhere in there. And when he would get a wound, he had to be in the bed on his side, which was extremely painful, and for weeks at a time. And it was miserable. And so when he would have wounds and stuff, that's when he would be like, I don't know how much longer I can do this. This is awful. You know, and he would even say things like, there's nothing I can't even kill myself. Like, how ridiculous is that? I'm so paralyzed and so handicapped that I can't even if I wanted to, I couldn't do it. So yeah, he'd make it off and on.
Yeah.
But did he do it that day? I don't know.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. You weren't with him.
No.
Yeah.
And he didn't say it the day before to me. He didn't say anything to me the day before. The day before, he spent the day, he taught my daughter how to serve a volleyball because she was joining the volleyball team. Watched football. I mean, it was a normal day.
Did he ever allude to how he would kill himself?
He talked about the only thing he could do is drive into the pool.
Yeah.
Which he's probably right. I can't think of any other physical way that he could do it.
Yeah, right.
I mean, he would have to have somebody help him.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's right. That's the only way he could do it.
Did he ever have conversations like that with your kids at all about?
No, definitely
something-
not my daughter, and I don't think my son. I know with my son, he said that he that it was a really hard life and that kind of thing. I don't know that he said anything like in detail.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Did he have a conversation? You might not know the answer to this. I don't know. Did he have a conversation with your son the night before he died?
I don't know that.
Okay.
Have you talked to my son?
No.
Okay.
No, I haven't. I think that was speculation, and that's why I wanted to. It's still speculation.
Yeah. My son has never
Sure. Yeah.
that morning. or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. Okay.
Would he have mentioned
Probably
something
not,
very
because
grim?
tell me anything, but probably not that, because in trying to protect me from that thought of
Okay.
your husband killed himself, my dad killed himself. He told me that night. I mean, that like that, I don't know. My thought is he wouldn't tell me that, but
Yeah. No, I haven't talked to your son. Matter of fact, he's what, 17?
mhm.
Is that right? Yeah. And another, this again, speculation. Was there any sign of a suicide note?
No.
How leave a note if he wanted
would have
to
to do it on the computer
on the computer?
or on his phone.
Okay.
Most likely it'd be his phone, because he got to the point where if he to type on the computer, he had to like lean to the right and he could type just to keep his balance. And when he would do that, he would get a wound on that right side.
Yeah.
So he started to do like 90% of anything on the phone.
Gotcha. Like talk to text or like.
Talk to text, or he would type it, like he would hold, because he would like get it like this, and then he would just
Yeah.
type it this.
Gotcha. Okay. Is there anything else that you wanted to get clarified?
I don't think so. Let me look back at questions.
Any questions that you had sitting
I'm
there?
sorry for yelling. I just think
No, it's
I
yeah.
think it's so sad for my husband.
Yeah. Of
I
course.
mean, it's so sad.
It's sad for the whole family. It really is. It's sad for the whole family. And I hate to reopen these wounds. But unfortunately, this is one of those investigations. I knew there was going to be some tough conversations, and it has been some tough conversations.
You ever had text messages with any of his family about committing suicide?
Probably so mad. I can't tell you the fury that goes into mom to know that an aunt, without asking me, knowing that I specifically said, look, we don't know if that happened or not, but please don't tell his children. Like, what's your goal? Is your goal to make my daughter think poorly of your brother? Is your goal to rip her heart out? Is your goal to make her feel that her dad abandoned her? Because you know what? That's exactly what you accomplished. So well done.
But that was just
Well
recently.
done. Yes, it was, I don't know, a month ago. I don't know.
Back when the incident occurred,
Oh, no.
any text messages that you would have had with
No.
anybody?
No.
So it wasn't a conversation that you had with any family members or any of his friends or anybody
No.
like that? Okay.
I mean, no. Like, I had other friends ask me, his friends ask me and say, like, do you think he did it?
Mhm.
And I don't know. I don't know. I know that he was exhausted. I know that he was in a lot of pain. And I know that morning he went for a walk. I have no idea.
I can't think of anything else that I've kind of been pondering or anything else that the other interviews would have kind of brought to light other than what we've already talked about. And I mean, I don't disagree with you. You weren't there. So how would you really know what his intentions were? That makes sense.
And like, so he would say things like that, right? So, you know, in his dark moments, whatever, he, you know, that's the only thing he could think of to even do to kill himself. There's no other way to do it on his own. But he could turn around. He was so verbal. You know, there's people, my son is exactly like him, where they vent something out. And then, like, for me, if I say something, I've thought about it, I've processed it, and then I'm communicating like this. When they say things, they're venting it, and then they feel fine. They feel 1,000 times better, and you think they're devastated, but really they just feel good. So he could tell me that in 2017 or whatever, and the very next day be playing with the kids and happy, and we're gonna go here, and and I'd be like, okay, I guess we're better today.
Yes, we're good. Yeah.
And so I honestly, I never thought he would do it, but I don't know. I don't know. You can't know the level of somebody's despair, and you can't know what they're thinking at every moment.
Yeah.
Like, did he think about it that whole night before? I don't know.
Yeah.
I was right next to him.
Yeah.
I slept on a blow-up mattress next to him on the couch because he couldn't sleep in the bed. Like, I was right there.
Yeah.
Why couldn't you sleep in the bed?
It was too painful.
Because of the way he had to lay.
Yeah. So we have a couch, and it has like the automatic buttons, and it's like those recliner,
Mhm.
but like the ones that really recline back.
Mhm.
And so that was the place where he slept for probably the last year and a half, maybe 2 years, I don't know. And we could get him in that position and then lift his right tuberosities where he always got the wound. So we could lift it up and kind of wedge a pillow there where he could whatever, he could keep his balance and sleep. So.
Is there anything that you've been wanting to talk about or get off your chest or
No.
ask? Do you have questions for us? Or, I mean, the floor is yours.
I think the whole thing's sad.
Yeah.
And I wish that my husband could just be remembered for being an amazing person. And I don't know why we have to bring it up and try to make him look like, again, like, what's the goal? You want him to look like a loser? You want him to look like he left his family? Do you want him to, I mean, what is the goal? Do you want to expose that he was in this horrible despair as a quad? Like, what's the goal? Did he do it? I don't know.
Yeah.
And I don't care. Listen, not one other person was there. Yes, there's a video, but not one other person was there. So can you say with 100% certainty? Can his sister say that with 100% certainty? Oh, well, she knows. What was she? They didn't even like each other. My God, they didn't even like each other. he had to gear up for every single time that he got together with her. So
How is his relationship with his parents?
his relationship with his mom was really good. His dad lived with us. His dad's super annoying, but whatever, he was fine. He kept to himself. But his mom and him were very close. He would share anything with his mom. They would argue from time to time, but she deeply, deeply loved him, and he deeply loved her. And he would always say, if he ever got mad at her or whatever, he'd be like, "It's my mom. I love my mom." So he adored his mom. He struggled with him. They did not like each other. She's super quick. Always, I mean, family functions, she's got to say that when he was 12, he, whatever, took her CDs or whatever. They didn't get along ever. And actually the last year of his life, I felt like, and he felt like they were starting to get along a little bit better. They could do small doses, right? Like she could come over for an hour, and then like 3 weeks later, they could talk on the phone for 10 minutes, or, like that was kind of their max. Otherwise she would get frustrated with him and he got frustrated with her. His dad's just kind of odd, but he loved his dad, but his dad wasn't like a dad. Like he never did anything parental for him.
So he didn't, when he was living with you guys, he didn't help like take care of him?
Healthy blood pressure support starts here with clinically researched French grape seed extract plus American grown.
Fill up his cup of water. So when I would leave in the morning, I would put 2 cups of water, because he could get his hand. There was a cup that had like a handle, and he could get his hand in there and like do this, and then he could drink with a straw. And so I would leave him 2 cups of water, and I would usually leave him like something like pack of crackers or peanut butter, something that he could slide off the desk and then try to eat. But sometimes he dropped it, but most of the time he'd land it in his mouth. And but anytime he asked his dad, like, could you refill my water? That's pretty much all he ever asked him. Could you refill my water, or could you grab me a pack of crackers? He'd be like, yeah, fine. Like he was never kind about helping him. Maybe I shouldn't say never. He was probably kind once every 3 to 4 months about helping him get a cup of water. But he's a selfish man. He's just weird.
Okay, I'm good. I appreciate you making time to come and talk to us. You were the last piece of the puzzle, to be honest with you. I mean, we've talked to a lot of people, and you were the last piece. So I don't know that, like you said, I don't know what the goal is. I don't know. But when it's presented to us,
It's very odd.
Yeah.
We normally have people fighting that it's not a suicide, not fighting that it is.
Yeah.
I know.
It's
so important. And I don't know if she did it. I would doubt highly that his mom is like passionately for it, but maybe she is. Shifts gears, but whatever. Tammy, I'm just a realist. I just live in reality. And so I'm not going to cover anything up. And I'm like, I'm not covering anything up. Okay, that's your thought of what happened. I have my thought of what happened. Nobody else was there. Doesn't really matter what my thought is, and doesn't really matter what her thought is.
Right.
He's in heaven with Jesus, and he's not here. That's where we are. So whatever.
All
What's
right.
your phone number? Did you give me that? No. Just for my report. I think it's on there, but just to finalize.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else medically. He passed out all the time too, but I doubt that that's what happened that morning. He had super low blood pressure. So he always took in the morning medicines. He had 2 proamine, so that would raise his blood pressure. If he passed out, he wouldn't have been able to drive his chair, or he would have, I don't know, if his hand was on the joystick. That would happen too sometimes. His hand would be on the joystick and he didn't realize it because he couldn't feel it. So I probably said that morning too. I don't remember, but I do remember thinking that, like, well,
Yeah.
because when he would fall asleep, if he was driving his chair, he wouldn't be asleep. He'd be like, he kind of did, I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know if it's
You
the
did,
morning.
you did
or-
say that.
Yeah.
You did.
So yeah, okay. So sometimes his hand would be on there and
Yeah.
he couldn't feel it, and he'd
Yeah.
just
Even his mother alluded to that. She said the chair is super sensitive. Like
it's
she's like,
so sensitive.
yeah, she's
like
like
people
this.
drive it into walls like
That's
that.
what she said. Yeah. Mom said the same thing. She said she's hit it by accident. Chair
Oh
went
yeah,
flying.
it goes flying. Yeah, he was a great driver of the chair.
Yeah.
But you do have to be awake when you're driving.
Right. Correct.
So.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, again, sorry we're talking about this years later, but that's what it is. And I'm hoping after today you don't hear from us again, and this can be the end of the investigation. So.
Okay. One wonderful sister who adored her brother. It is maybe I think that's deep inside of her heart, but she did not express it and communicate it to him well.
Mhm.
The things she communicated were mean and hurtful, and she blamed him and said he was selfish her whole life and all these things that he would do when he was like 8 years old. Like,
Yeah.
okay, like what the heck? So that's really sad to me.
Yeah. And I won't say that she portrayed herself like that. She never really alluded to that. But my opinion, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think she got caught up in YouTube theories and all that. It was kind of the talk of the town for a little bit. And I think she got wrapped up in it, and it got her mind racing, and she talks to family, and that got, I think it was just a ripple effect. So unfortunately you were caught up in that ripple effect because you were, directly related to the case. But I wouldn't worry too much about it going forward. Mm-hmm.
Sorry for being emotional. I was really trying.
Yeah, you have every right
You
to
have
be.
every right.
For sure.
We're okay with that.
Yep.
I'm gonna really smile more.
Thank you.
All right. So let me fix a couple of things that I might have said that I need to correct. Number one, somebody made a very good point. She is the only witness that has been Mirandized. No, I got to give these cops credit. I think that on the little snippet that I heard made it sound as if they were siding with her. But now listening to this, it sounds as if the feds are breathing down their neck and that they have to do their job and that they are doing their job. Secondly, the fact that she is the last witness speaks volumes. The last witness and being read her Miranda rights. Okay? So we have to take that into consideration. So with those two things, I'm going to give the cops credit because they allowed her to have loose lips, which we all know sinks ships. And she sunk her ship, I think, in this interview very, very badly. Now, John Paul, I'm sure you're listening in your robe like Hugh Hefner. Since you're such an awesome psychiatrist who likes to give out medication, I think you should have this woman looked at immediately. It sounds like she's having a psychotic break. Now, I know this is back in February, but I can't imagine if anybody is asked a simple question and they fall apart like that, that this is a person who can handle much. So since you slipped a ring on her finger, it sounds like you may want to have her looked at. Maybe you want to have her hospitalized. She doesn't sound like she's safe to have out in public. She might be a danger to herself and society. Hope you get better. Anyhow, I have to agree with the chat. Anyone who gives out information, and if you listen to what the officer said when she tried to downgrade the character of Tamra, the cop did not agree. As a matter of fact, the cop, in a way, defended Tamra and said, well, I didn't really hear that, you know. So he was very, detectives know how to question, especially somebody who's psychotic and murderous, and someone who's a liar. See, when she reacted that way immediately, he knew what he was dealing with. He knew it. And he knew that he had to befriend her. He knew he had to get her to believe he was on her side, to get her to talk. And she admitted that she forgot to give him his meds the day before. So she has admitted, and we have it recorded, that she forgot his care. Okay, remember when I had brought up the negligent manslaughter? No matter which way this goes, manner of death, she will be found responsible. Okay? It doesn't seem like they're only looking at suicide. It looks like they're looking at both. But it sounds as if, now I don't know when the feds had stepped in, but the way this guy was asking questions, now because we heard the full interview, I got the feeling that he was really not on her side. Not when you're listening to it from the offense. If you're listening to it from the defense, yeah, then you would hear it that way. But no, I hear it where he sounds like he's doing the job that he should be doing. And I don't think that's because they're looking to investigate this. I think it's because they know the feds are involved and the feds are watching. And they're under scrutiny. Myrtle Beach is under scrutiny. Horry County is under scrutiny. That whole area is under scrutiny. We know. No, the case is not closed. No, as a matter of fact, totally opposite. The coroner's office has an investigation open with the FBI. The feds are involved. So with the feds involved, as I just said, the feds are involved. So the fact that the feds are involved speaks volumes. Now, again, this interview was done back in February of 2025. She's freaking out because she expected this to all be gone. She expected this not to be reopened, and she's very upset that it has been reopened. And she's upset that things are going to be found out. And how do you know? Because she couldn't say what the YouTubers were discussing and why. She couldn't say YouTubers who were discussing the Micah Miller case, because the last thing she wanted to do was to bring John Paul into the picture, because then they would say, well, what does John Paul and Micah Miller have to do with this? Because then she would have to explain, well, I was having an affair with him at the time that my husband died. And then you're opening up a whole big can of worms. See how she was very careful to keep all that information out? But he knows. He already knows. He knows that she kept that information out. You don't think that the detective knew that? So they did open it, Sherry. It has been reopened. Chris's sister had said that the other day. The feds are involved. They are doing a parallel investigation with the Horry County Coroner's Office. So now they now probably have a hold of that interview. And I think it's actually ingenious that Fitz News put this out, because I'm sure I'm not the only one who's going to be picking it apart. When I first started the show a little while ago, I was pissed off because I listened to it and I thought, she's such a pretentious, over-entitled, whiny, above it all, snarky, snotty, demanding, selfish person. And I thought, who the hell does she think she's talking about with these YouTubers? And I got my fingers up in the air doing the quotes. And now listening to it again with you guys and seeing your responses, I realize now that maybe I listened to it wrong. I mean, I do have a headache. She is probably seen by this detective and the other detectives that were probably in the room, as somebody that has to be looked at, somebody that has to be investigated. It's over. The jig is up. She's definitely psychologically broken. She knows that the story is no longer going to hold. The party is over. It's just a matter of time. I think that it doesn't matter, Sherry, if the chair is gone. It's not as if the feds can't get it. And if the chair is gone and the chair is not gone, it really doesn't mean that the feds can't build a case. Really. Just not impossible. First of all, the feds do not pick up a case that they cannot take on. They're not going to do that. They're not going to spend federal money on a case they can't fight. So if they took it on, they obviously see a case they can win. That's just the way it is. So I wouldn't really worry about it. Anyhow, we know she didn't unalive herself. Totally proven that. As a matter of fact, the very bullets that she bought that day at the pawn shop weren't used. Other bullets were. So we were able to prove that as well. Well, Susie, Susie's not a victim. Susie might have been a victim when she first met him and fell under his spell and fell for his charms and bibbity bobbity boo. But you know what? She's been a willing participant for a really long time. So I'm not going to buy that Susie's a victim crap any longer. Susie's not a victim. Susie is a willing participant. And she's put a lot of people at risk, including Chris. And we see what's happened with him. She forgot a lot more than medicine. She stopped washing him. She stopped feeding him to the point where, Sherry, you need to go and watch A Sure Impact, which is the Skinner family's videos. They're also on Facebook. And listen to what they have to say. Because in the last weeks, they had to feed and wash Chris because she forgot. She forgot to care for him. She chose not to care for him anymore. She was too busy chasing after John Paul Miller. And because she forgot to do that, if she drove him, Chris, to take his own life, according to South Carolina law, that's called negligent manslaughter, and she's seeing 30 years. I'm infuriated too, Sherry, no problem. She's seeing 30 years in prison at least. Okay, she forgot to love him, that's right. And the other option, of course, would be if it was done intentionally to him, which would be the remote control option, which is also being looked into, and that's why the feds are involved. We might be looking at life in prison because, that would be murder. So, however you look at it, they're going to pay. And we already know that John Paul's going to pay for Micah and possibly other victims as well. Now, I know there's something floating around on TikTok or whatever that John Paul had gone through a, what do you call one of those things that you, what do you call those? Help me, Jesus. It's one of those things where they ask questions to detect lie detector. I went through a lie detector in January over Jane Doe 2 back in January, and he passed it. Okay, well, for the record, lie detectors are inadmissible in court for good reason. They're not something that you can rely on. Okay? And why is that? Because some people know how, polygraph, thank you, know how to beat them. You could do it with certain medications, or you could do it if you're an absolute pathological liar, which we know John Paul is. So that's why it's inadmissible in court. You can't use it. That means it can't be evidence in court. So him being able to beat a polygraph means a very little. That does not mean that Jane Doe 2 is lying. So please, if you happen to figure out who Jane Doe is, number 2, please don't harass this woman. She's been through enough. This doesn't mean she's lying. This just means that John Paul is an excellent liar. That's all. That's all it means. Because remember, everything that she had stated, there were witnesses to what she went through. And all they have to do is pull in those witnesses and question them. So it's not over till it's over. So there you go. So anyhow, what I wanted to tell you guys is I didn't plan on coming on today because I have a headache, but this came up, the whiny, scratchy, crazy nut job that we just listened to, and I figured I better come on. I was going to do a rant, but you guys wanted to hear it, and I'm glad that you did because I'm glad I got your feedback. And what I did was, thank you, Leslie. She gave me a copy. It was very hard to find. It's actually a transcript of the sermon, if that's what you want to call it, of the last church service that Chris went to, which was on September 5th, 2021. He passed away September 6th, 2021. And I'm going to go through it over the weekend, and then we're going to go through it together. I'm going to do bullet points. And why is that important? Because according to his sister, Chris left pissed off that day. He left that church very angry. Why? Because there were things said in that service that upset him. Now, I remember reading snippets of that service, and I'll tell you what, I'd be angry too if I were Chris. There were insinuations of, and let me see if I could just give you of something that John Paul said. Now, here's Chris sitting in the congregation listening to this wolf on the pseudo altar. Whenever you're having a hard time figuring out who you are, it's because a lot of times you've been in a manipulative relationship in the past. You've been abused. I can't tell you how many people in this church have been abused by somebody that was supposed to love them and protect them, and it causes them to hold back who God made them to be. And they feel like, and I give this analogy last week, you feel like you're drowning. And that person, every time you come up for air, they're pushing you back down underwater. And that was one of the things that he had said the day before Chris passed away. So I will be going over that this weekend. I will be ding, ding, ding. Yes, we have a winner. So I will be breaking that down this weekend, all the bullet points from that ridiculous, I don't even know what you want to call it. It's not even a service. It's just a bunch of words that he stood before those people on September 5th, 2021, the day before Chris Skinner passed away. And we will go over them on Monday. Unless anything new comes up over the weekend, and that would be the only time I go live, and God only knows, anything could happen the way things have been happening lately. That is a possibility. But if not, I will see you on Monday. Until then, please stay safe. Everybody, thank you for joining me. Please stay safe and God bless.